Blue light special. All right. I got a question for you guys, and it's controversial. I don't know if you're going to talk about it, but I don't know if, Todd, I know you hinted on this earlier. Brian, I know you've talked about this too. We all have kind of hinted on this, that the way that society and certain aspects of the government are manipulating the judicial process to where it's probably more likely than not where you're not going to get a fair trial by the triers of fact. And you probably don't want to chance it with one judge because, as you can see in the Kim Potter case, how one person, an activist, was able to make it all the way to the judge's residence. You see what I'm saying? So even if you went with a judge, you know, how that judge might still be pressured because it's just one person. And so what I'm finding is that you may not get justice until the appellate process.
Maybe.
Yeah.
And that's if your lawyer was able to do enough to preserve things on the record that are appealable issues and get as many appealable issues as possible. So the question that I have is this: concealed carry insurance, whatever that may be, right? If the triers of fact being the jury, the judge, the public, because a court of public opinion, we can't discount them, right, in certain cases because they influence jury decisions. Let's not make a mistake and not think that's not the case, right? If you don't find this person guilty, we gonna burn it down.
Maxine Waters.
Just saying. How many of us have done the research, without mentioning any names unless you care to do so, as to whether or not these providers will back us at the appeal? Let me provide context. Derek Chauvin, granted, that was not a concealed carry situation, right? It was a police officer situation. But you see that his defense attorney, I think his name was Eric Thomas, it was funded by the union. The minute he was found guilty, regardless of what side you're on, he was trying to get an appellate lawyer that was denied. So is that possible for concealed carriers?
So
that's going to depend on the insurance because some
I'm about to say depends on
take care of.
That's why I'm asking the question.
Yeah, so some insurances, I mean, will take you all the way through the appeal process if need be. It's obviously up to everyone to do their own due diligence and research as much as possible. Because again, if you're going to research about your instructors, why wouldn't you research about your insurance?
Because most people ain't told about insurance.
I didn't go with State Farm just to go with State Farm just because that's what I see on the TV. And although that's what they want, you know what I mean? You decimate the market with marketing. And then you're brainwashing to thinking that State Farm is the best, when really they're one of the worst ones.
Right. So when you look at it, yeah, that's why most people usually have more than one concealed carry insurance too, to fill in that gap. So ultimately, yeah, it depends on what insurance you get and who you're going to stick with, because ultimately, at the end of the day, it is your choice to do your research and your due diligence to figure out who's going to cover you for whatever you're going to do and all that other good stuff.
Well, yeah, and you got to be careful with that because if you do some insurance, if you're doing double CCL or CCW insurance, some may not pick up the process after it was already started by someone else.
Right. Or the fact that technically your homeowner's insurance umbrella policy doesn't cover self-defense inside your home. So if you destroy property inside your crib, your umbrella policy doesn't cover it because it's an intentional act.
But
you're talking above my pay grade, but I happen to be very close to CCW Safe, and that is the only company in the industry who has successfully defended a murder one case. So you do your own research. I mean, Concealed Carry Inc., concealedcarry.com, they've got a comparative chart with USCCA, US Law Shield, all the big players. And I mean, your mileage may vary, but I I work with those guys and I've seen what they do. And that's about the only one that I'll carry, that I'll give money to.
And hell, check the state that you're planning on carrying in. Like, have they ever protected anyone in your specific state?
Yes.
Well, there's some states that you can't carry concealed carry coverage.
Right. Washington, New York, New Jersey, and I want to say Connecticut.
Yeah. And
don't ask me how I know, leave me alone. Stay out my business.
Yeah, right. But no, I mean, I know, my dad works for CCW Safe. I mean, he's one of their dudes, right? Like,
it's down there in the. Yep, I got it. Say less.
Yeah, I mean, I've watched him get on a plane at midnight to go somewhere because a member got involved in an incident.
Damn.
Yeah. He's 64 years old and he's like, yep, got to pack up, Uber into the airport. Something happened in Vegas, and it's like,
something happened in Vegas.
Yeah, no, there was a case there. I mean, I can't.
I'm just giving you shit.
Right? Cocaine is all the time. We understand.
But right. I know of a member that had several different concealed carry coverages, got in an incident in Vegas, and within like 8 hours, my dad and another guy were there, and he never had to go to jail or anything. He ended up having to do an interview or anything, but it was pretty. In the grand scheme of like clean cut deals, this was like the best case scenario. And about the third day, one of the other providers finally said, "Hey, is everything okay? Do we need to call you an attorney?" And he's like, "These guys are already here." Like, what? So I'm just saying, like, based solely on reputation and not on the fact that I have like dear friends and family that started that company and work for them, I've seen what they do. Like, and they're the only ones that I would give money to personally, and expect anything in return. And I'm not saying like USCCA and US Law Shield and the rest of the bunch aren't good. It's just, I have no experience with, there you go. Yeah. I just have no experience with them. And I've seen firsthand, like, the inner workings of that company, because it's 4 blocks from my house. And, yeah. And I mean, that's not to say if they were a bunk company, I wouldn't go to somebody else, but at the same time, it's like, man, I've watched what they do for members. And if you look up Stephen Maddox out of like Cary, North Carolina, that's sales enough for me. So
did they did they bury the strippers in the desert, or did they just stick to the trash can?
We can either confirm.
No, I can't discuss the details of that one.
Confirm or deny.
It was a 55-gallon drum that they sealed and hid in plain sight.
Right. But it wasn't an Ozark scenario. It was just, but
they left them on
it was
what you're saying.
Yeah, it was a legit self-defense shooting, and ultimately, the member wasn't charged, but he had a couple of other providers as well. And he's waiting on a return phone call from their like answering service. And our dudes like showed up like, "Hey, you need anything? What do we got? Like, let's retain an attorney. Let's get all this." Yeah. Like within 6-8 hours. So,
that's good to know.
And and so that's definitely a question that I would suggest that anyone, ask, is that the attorneys that you have in your brand or under your brand, can you give me at least 5 attorneys who have argued before the Illinois or before the Wisconsin or before the such Supreme Court? What was the case brief? Because you can look that stuff up yourself, right?
So one of the things CCW Safe does is they will provide you an attorney.
Yeah.
And they're going to vet whoever the attorney is. If you end up like Stephen Maddox, who ended up, he ended up being arrested.
Yeah.
They negotiated a bondsman, negotiated his bond, negotiated with his employer. I mean, they went like all out,
above and beyond.
And, some of these other companies are what they call a wasting policy. Okay. You have, $1 million in coverage after you're found innocent, then we'll reimburse you up to $1 million. read the fine print. I mean, there's some of those that you're like, well, and then some of them, you know, their big sales point is, well, we let you pick your own attorney. Well, okay. You know, what attorney that's practiced criminal law that's any good at it and not a bleed it and plead it attorney is going to show up to a deal? Like, you know, how many of those guys are going to crawl out of the woodwork and go, I'll negotiate you a great plea deal.
Right. Like all you're going to do is remember Glenn Lerner.
Right. And then, you know, there's some other different policies out there that, hey, if multiple members are involved in an incident, you buy in at a shareholder stake essentially, and whatever money's in the pot is what you're entitled to. So 2-3 members get in an incident, and you know, you may have $500,000 of coverage, but your entitlement's only like 10 grand. Well,
how the hell you got a group rate on self-defense?
What's that?
How do you get a group rate on self-defense?
Right.
Like, hey, y'all,
you
if
don't.
we all shoot.
Yeah.
You gonna split the bill. How you gonna split the bill on a shooting?
If our bullets combine.
Right. Well, and that's the whole thing why you got to do some digging, and some of the insurance language with some of those companies is very ambiguous. And if you don't know what you're reading, it's extremely difficult to decipher what a wasting policy is, what what an indemnity policy is versus, you know, an actual, I can't even think of the words for it because I'm not in the insurance business. But
Ryan, you said it was above your pay grade, but it doesn't sound like it was.
Right.
Well, some of it, and the only reason I know this is I was there when they started the company. There's a couple of retired officers from my area.
Yeah.
Three of them. And one of them is an extremely successful medical malpractice attorney now, like defense attorney.
Yeah.
He doesn't practice criminal law. He goes and vets who he's going to put up, who he's going to run out front. So, you know, there's that aspect of it. And then there's an infrastructure at that company of people that are on call in rotation that will be on a flight the next day, the next available flight to get to wherever you're at, to start vetting bondsmen and negotiating. Hey, you know, I know your bond's 20%, but we'll wire you cash in 20 minutes. Oh, okay. Now it's 5%. Thanks. You know, and we'll guarantee your client's going to show up. You know, vetting criminal attorneys. And if you look at criminal defense attorneys, and I got a lot of friends that are criminal defense attorneys that do not practice in trials.
Yes. They practice in fucking pleas.
They practice in pleas, negotiations.
Yes.
They're not trial attorneys.
The
trial
Robert
attorneys.
Shapiros.
Yeah. And there's nothing wrong with that, because there are some instances where that's the best you're going to do. Okay. And I totally get that. You know, I stop and talk to somebody and a kilo of cocaine falls out of their pants. Probably just need a guy to get you through the process. Don't really need a guy to try to say I'm innocent. Right. You know, I mean, that's just a instance, right? You know, you get off an airplane with a kilo of cocaine in your pants. It's kind of hard to say that somebody put that there, right? So you're going to need somebody to mitigate the damage, maybe, right?
Depends on the state.
Right.
And it depends on the circumstance of what occurred on that plane.
Right. Well, right.
And if those are his pants.
Oh God!
I mean,
that's why you wear skinny jeans. That's why you wear skinny jeans. That shit can't happen to you.
Right.
Somebody put it in my boot. Somebody put it in my boot, and I didn't even know about it.
But either way, you know, something like that where you're just trying to lessen the impact. You know what I mean? It's like make the hit a little softer. Okay, there's tons of attorneys that do that type of work. Right. The kind of guys that roll in and do trials are few and far between. Yes. And the ones that are good at it are even fewer than that. Yes. One of my dear friends, she is an exceptional trial attorney and has kicked my ass in court. Yeah. I mean, you know what I mean? And I'm like, hey, you know, if I got jammed up, I'd be calling her. Like,
let me give you something with context with that, Brian, because I've been falsely arrested before, and it was a use of force situation. And I had an attorney whose name I will not say,
right,
who kicked my ass in a DUI case that I had. One thing I forgot, and he was just able to capitalize on it and win. And I've seen him win in other cases, even at the felony, I can't even say felony level. So when I got in my situation, right, it was outside of the county where I usually was a police officer in. I hired him. We were friends. I hired him. And then that's when I learned something else about the judicial process and the bar process within that county, right? It would be stupid for you to hire unless this person has a very high national profile. It would be stupid for you to hire an out-of-county lawyer to come into a strange county because every county has their own bar association.
And their own little quirks as far as the way that, that's one of the things with CCW Safe that I'm really fond of is their vetting process for when they retain an attorney.
Yes.
When they retain a criminal defense attorney, you don't have to get on the Googles and try to figure out who has actually practiced law over here. They're going to send you the best and brightest.
Yeah.
Some of the other ones go, hey, here's 20 grand. You get to pick your own attorney. Well, what if Jim Bob has only practiced foot fungus law or whatever, it's like, well, I did some legal work once and you know what I mean? It's like, oh, okay. You're going to shove your defense money at somebody who's never been in front of a judge in a courtroom because, somebody told you he was a pretty good guy or gal or whatever. And I'm like, dude, that's the big sales point for CCW Safe is if something happened, I go, this is what happened. Help me.
I'm switching.
Yeah.
And here's this too. One of the attorneys from Company A that I will not say, we would just say Company A because I will not say that, right? I hate to say this, but if you guys follow me, whatever, go back and watch some of my other videos, right? I'll find the title. I'll put it in the description after this is over. This attorney who is under this brand said something to the effect of, look, you can't pull your gun just because this person is trying to come to you and trying to fight you with their bare hands. You can't just pull your gun. I said, what the fuck did you do? And I was on the same radio station interview with them. And I went and talked to this person's rep from Company A. I said, if this is the person that's under your stuff, and I know it is because I looked it up, you need to have a conversation with this person. I didn't say gender, but this person, you need to have a conversation because disparity of force proves that's definitely not the case. There's so much shit that, no, fuck. So,
Mike's soapbox is coming out. It's under his feet. I can see it.
Go.
He just slid it under there. You see that?
What you're doing is you're disarming persons who know themselves not to be a boxer, who know themselves not to be a strong person, so to speak. They are confident in their skills and not unsure about yours, but they believe that if they took one punch, last time a paper cut almost took them out. So I know the fucking mosquito I had was in the hospital for 7 days.
Hey, Todd, have you ever been on this before? Because
this is my first time.
This
is my first time.
Every now and then when Mike gets passionate, you'll start wanting to give your heart to Jesus real quick. I mean, he'll make the altar call here in a minute.
Fortunately, I already have, so I'm going to be
Very
okay.
Good. I'm just saying.
I'm going to be okay.
It's like you don't know. I don't know what your capabilities are, but you're saying that, okay, this person's got no gun because they got their hands like this. When this hand is close to the cloth and they can just pull that gun and shoot faster than you can react. Why am I going to take that chance?
I feel like I'm back in the Shiite Pentecostal church.
Yeah.
Anyway.
All right. Oh my God. Yes, they do. Yes, they do. They do have different levels of coverage. They got Defender. And Defender starts as low as $19 a month.
Defender, Protector, Ultimate.
Hey,
like
John.
3-4 different tiers. All right, are we going back to the Benny Hinn video? Oh man, dude.
I just want you guys to understand.
Was that your praying mantis? Marquise?
Earlier, yeah, it was.
Yeah. I just want you guys.
I did study it, but that's something different.
I thought I was going to get crane kicked through the screen here.
I don't think my arms would fit on the screen if I did that. So
yeah, it's kind of in a box.
Now, like this is moth kung fu right now, just moth.
I just want you guys to kind of understand that, in this culture, and I pray you guys never, those who've been in real conflicts don't wish the real conflict on anyone. 100% of the conflicts you avoid, that's the shit you win. The stuff that Todd, man, I got to get to your class, Todd, I swear, because I love learning from wonderful people. Same thing as John. I've already been in Marquise's class. Brian, you too. Angela, I got to come down to where you are, and just I like getting with and Katie. We talk every morning, man. So look, avoid that conflict. Somebody call you out your name, fuck it. They call you bitch, run away, do this shit, and just fucking move while keeping your eyeball situational awareness. But you find yourself getting into a situation and you had no other choice but to make that choice, then you want to make sure that who's going to have your back will have your back past the conviction.
See, and that's an area I'm not sure of with any of them.
Yeah,
right?
Well, and that's why we got to ask those questions. Because, see, as a person who's been through the shit, and I hate to say it because a great percentage of instructors never been arrested, right? We've arrested folks.
Wait,
but a great
in this
percentage
country?
of us, huh?
In this country?
I would argue that's a good project, but I would argue
man,
that
you better make sure that country doesn't have extradition.
here we go. Right, more than
saying.
half, but less than
or actually,
that.
Is it just the wearing of the handcuffs, or is it getting in the car?
No, not that, Angela. No, look.
Right. So, wait. We gotta wait, Mike.
Right.
We need context.
No.
When you say arrested, are we talking process? Are we talking handcuff? Are we talking in the station? Are we talking in the car? What are we talking for arrested?
I'm talking you either received the information, misdemeanor, or you were indicted, felony, or you had a prelim.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, not in this country. Yeah,
right.
Good.
Wow.
Fair enough. So what I'm saying is American instructors, more than 50, but less than 75%, they have never been in that process, thankfully. But sometimes you could do everything right and still get falsely arrested because you don't control the decision to arrest. And so you need to
the political landscape has changed.
Yes.
Right. And so we're seeing political railroadings happen now, regardless of whatever level of justification there is in the case. Right. And so you're bringing up a really great point that I think this conversation really needs to happen with insurance companies now, because then what happens is if we're seeing these political railroadings happen left and right, then what happens is people will just stop carrying their gun. And we don't want that. We don't want that either.
No.
Because they're just afraid, well, no matter what I do, I'm fucked, right? If I don't carry it, I'm fucked. If I do carry it and I use it appropriately and with measure, I'm fucked. So why carry it? Because then I have a one-sided sword instead of a double-edged sword. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
I can't use it anyway, so why take the risk of carrying it?
Well, and like Marquise just put up his knife. If people stop carrying guns, what do you think will be the next thing they don't want us to carry?
Well,
a fucking knife.
Yeah. And then you really have
if
to.
If they convince us not to carry guns, what do you think will be the next thing? Everyone that like us is going to start carrying knives,
right?
And when everyone's walking around with knives, they're going to take those away.
And we are not trying to dissuade anyone here